Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the weekly Wednesday live streams. Took last Wednesday off to recuperate after Freebeat Live, and because my sister-in-law turned 21, so we had a whole bunch of different parties for her, which was fun. But we are back now. Hope you're all doing well. I'm at a little bit different of a setup today, like actually physically in the studio. Patrons will know what's going on. So yeah, let me know if everything sounds okay, if the lighting is okay. I know we've got this nasty shadow here. I have plans for better lighting in the future, but yeah, brand new setup. The monitor's a little closer to me so I can see Crazy Wabbit, Sadiq Cat, and Cresshead in chat right now. Hope you're all doing well. Let's get a audio check here for the Polyend Tracker. Probably quiet there. Audio sounds good. Cool. Cool, good to hear it. Yeah, the tracker will be kind of quiet, but that's because this patch is just pretty quiet. We can... There we go. It's probably okay. Let's go and make mistakes. Sounds okay, cool. Well, that's good. I barely had to adjust anything. I'm also sitting on a drum throne now, so I'm a little higher off the ground at the new filming area here. Yeah, we got the Polyend Tracker today. The Tracker Plus, rather. Now, I've been using the Tracker Mini for about a year now. I can't remember exactly when I got it last year, when they sent it over. It was right before it came out. But I've been using it for like a year. But at that same time, the full-size tracker I had, I actually had to send back to Zounds. So I've been without a full-size tracker until, well, just like 2 or 3 weeks ago when this one showed up. And I haven't had a chance to use it that much because I was busy with Freebeat Live. And then I kind of took a few days off there. So we're just going to sort of dive in and have some fun, if that's okay with everybody. I know we have Crazy Wabbit in chat, who is a brand new Tracker Plus owner. So feel free if you to suggest things to take a look at or anything like that. I just kind of want to, I don't know, get started with something random and just see where that takes us. So obviously the big draw to the Tracker Plus, just like the update to the Mini, is that we now have those synth engines. So these right here are just internal sounds. We're not connected externally to anything other than a battery bank, which is how we're powering this, and of course the audio interface up there. But yeah, you get all this great stuff included, including the new perk engine, which is excellent. So I guess let's just go ahead. Maybe I'll make this more of a beginner-friendly kind of tips and tricks as I kind of remember them, if that makes sense. So from the pattern screen, right now I'm just in instrument parameters, and at any time you can hold down either or hold down instrument here, and you can actually see what instrument you have selected. So I'm on synth number 1, which is using the WTFM engine. The pads let me audition and play. Sounds really nice right there. From here we can adjust the polyphony. This is a bass, so I'm going to keep it at 1. Gain is fine. Here's your panning and your reverb and delay sends, but we can also load our patches and take a look there. Or you can go in and edit the patches. And this is where I think the Tracker Plus pulls ahead of the Tracker Mini a bit, is actually editing these patches. And that's because of the grids down or the grid down here, the pads. So if you see this 4x4 grid, we've got like oscillator. Hopefully that shows. Oh, it shows up on camera really well, actually. That's cool. Yeah, oscillator, filter, amp envelope, envelope 1, 2 LFOs, modulation section, voice section, and then 7 macros. I can jump around to whatever I want just right here, and then still preview the sounds right here, which is super cool. So I like this patch as is. Don't know if it really needs any additional stuff. I think it sounds all right. So let's go ahead and sequence it. And even from the pattern page here, I can still hold instrument and switch between my instruments, which is great. Step jump is going to be your friend here, and I'm not very good at using it. We toggle between note entry and playback mode, or just solely playback mode with the record button here. I just think of it as write mode and read mode. That goes all the way back to like my pocket operator days. Basically, though, step jump, what it does is anytime you input a note, it's going to automatically move that many steps down. So see, I put a C4 right there on synth 1. So the second column is your instrument. And it automatically moved down. Now I can actually adjust step jump to whatever I want here with the jog wheel by holding it, or by these pads here. So back in the day when I had the original, that was frequently how I would change my step jump position. So if I want like eighth notes, I'll just do something like this here. There we go. Just like that. Song mode is where your tempo lives. There we go. And let's go back. That's all right. Oh, I made it worse. I made it so much worse. We'll just leave it right there. Tracker could be a bit louder. Okay, we can take care of that. Just in the master page. There we go. Cool. But the idea is, for me anyway, how I like to use this is I try not to cross my hands unless I'm using the pads for like actually live playing something, which I don't do a lot of live playing on the pads with the tracker. I do a lot of note entry, but just like how you saw. So that's just how I work. I have seen people that'll bring their hands all over the place, but for the most part, right hand over here, left hand over here. One action that you'll want to get going or figure out quickly is how to use your thumb on the jog wheel here, just to, with the arrows and like instrument, using the jog wheel to move up and down the list there. Same with note and your effects columns and stuff like that. Just like that. That's a pretty handy one to have in the bag. Yes, there is an undo function. Spy Hunter vibe. All I've done is put some basic notes in. But yes, there's undo right there. That is available when you're in record mode. Generally, on this bottom bar here, on the bottom of the screen, which, by the way, has 3 different pages. If something is grayed out, you can access it with record mode. So actually, yeah, let's go over those here. We've got pattern. So if we had different patterns, this is how I would scroll between them. Again, I could either use the wheel or the pads, which is cool. But there's actually a better way to go about song mode and patterns, which I don't know if we'll get into that today. It's a little more advanced. It's actually something Galactic Tapes showed me a couple weeks ago on the Mini before I even got the Tracker Plus, and I was like, holy shit, it blew my mind. Made song mode way cooler. Yeah, that's how you change pattern. This is how you change your pattern length. So right now we're at 32 by default. Again, jog wheel or the pads. Step jump we went over. Fill is how you get into more generative stuff. We'll get into that in a minute. Preview lets you preview any step that you're on, or with shift and the arrow keys. I don't know if you can see the playhead moving. You can actually preview different sections, and you can, holding shift, you can highlight left and right, which is nice. So if you only want to work on a particular section, you have undo and redo. On this page, you have render selection, so that's really cool. I could select the step I'm on now and render it as a sample. Just cancel out of that. You can invert a pattern, so flip it. Duplicate, just duplicates it. Expand. What does expand actually do? Oh. I've never used that. So now I'm going to go back and hit undo. There we go. Whoa, redo. There we go. I've never used expand. Shrink probably does the opposite. Oh, yeah. There we go. Cool. Copy pattern. Pretty self-explanatory. Paste pattern. Self-explanatory. And then the final page, you can actually name your patterns and name your individual tracks, which is really handy. Pocket Reality, you really want one of these. They are super cool. There are not many pieces of gear that I would like rush out to replace if mine got damaged or destroyed. This and the Tracker Mini are definitely two of those. I know they seem a little expensive, but if you're into trackers, they are phenomenal. Also on that list is the Dirty Wave M8, which is another tracker. I really do enjoy trackers. The 4 columns here, you've got notes. So that's where you input your specific notes. So you can see C4, C4, C4. If we go down here, there's a D4. And what's nice is the pads will actually light up to show you what note you're on, which is cool. Shift plus insert takes you to the top, which is a very handy shortcut to have in the bag. And shift plus up, if you're at the top, highlights a whole row. Or a whole column, rather. There you go. And yes, you can combo that with left and right to highlight multiple sections or multiple tracks. Yeah. Instrument is where the instrument data for that step is stored. So we have synth 1 on all of these here, but I could very easily change that to a sample or synth 2 or 3 or whatever. Have I ever used the Schism Tracker? No, I have not. Did I say that right? Hopefully. I have not. No, the only other tracker I've used besides the Polyends and the M8s, well, I have used a little bit of Renoise and LSDJ, which is basically the Dirty Wave M8. But then you also have your effects columns here, or your effects slots. You have 2 effect slots. Volume and velocity, unfortunately, do count as an effect on here, rather than being their own thing like on the M8, but you can get by. Same for the second step there. And that's about it for this screen. A lot of it is just kind of trial and error and poking around and figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. So let's go ahead and let's load some drums. I'm going to push sample loader. Now I'm at the root of the SD card. I'm going to go into samples here. And let's go into these synthwave one-shots. You can see you can just preview stuff from here. Some of those are kind of hot. I will check it out. Yeah, I've been looking for a PC-based tracker. Renoise is fun, but there's a lot to learn. I need to I need to dig into it more. But yeah, I will check Schism Tracker out. Thanks for the tip. Let's grab some drums. So these are all the kicks. I'm just going into different folders. And by the way, at any point you can hit right to go to the top of whatever folder, or hit left to go to the top of whatever folder you're in. How's it going, Guillaume? It's a classic kick right there. I'm going to hit add next, so it's going to add it to the list and automatically jump down to the next slot there. Going to go into snares now. And ignore those clicks. Sometimes those happen when you're just flying through your audio, but they don't show up on the actual patterns. I like that. That's fine. I like that one too. I'm going to get multiple snare drums. Grab some hats now. I'm going to grab these, the first two here. So I'm going to hold Shift and scroll down so I have them both selected, and then add next, and they're both added in. Hey, have a good night, Sadiq Cat. Thanks for stopping by. Also, by the way, in this screen, the copy and delete keys work as expected for samples. So these are, by the way, your samples in the project. So these are what I have loaded in right here. And you can also preview them from here. You can rename them too. But I could, like if I wanted another copy of this snare drum, I could just go to it, hit copy, and then Shift plus copy is paste, and you can see it right there. I don't want it, so I'm going to delete that. But yeah, those are the samples. That's what we'll work with today, drum-wise, until we get into maybe the perk engine. Can you load packs? No. So this is on an individual sample basis. At least I'm pretty sure. I've never tried, but I'm pretty sure it is looking for individual samples. Yeah, because otherwise it would let me load some of these folders here. Yep, it's individual samples. Anyway, we'll hit pattern here and go back to the beginning. Let's go ahead. Now, I want the bass to be on, let's put the bass, because it's one of the internal synths. Let's put that on track 9, which is where the MIDI / internal synth tracks start. So you can only have samples on your first 8 tracks, but there's 16 total. The other 8 are for the internal synths and MIDI tracks. So to do this, I'm simply going to Shift and up to highlight the whole row. I'm going to turn on record mode. I'm going to hit copy. Then I'm going to hit delete. Those will, I can take care of those later. Then I'm going to come down here to MIDI track 9, which is actually MIDI track 1. Select the whole thing. Shift plus copy is pasting, and there we go. Okay, so we still have our bass line there, and now we've got tracks 1 through 8 open for samples, in this case, drums. So let's talk about fill, because fill is going to be your friend when working with the tracker. So I'm going to go ahead and have a listen to my hi-hat here. That sounds nice. Now, I want to do 16th notes for my hi-hat. Now, I could just set step jump to 1 and just play them in like that. However, if we use fill, we can do it very quickly. So I'm going to go Shift, select the whole column, and that goes all the way down. Then I hit fill. Now on fill, I can tell it where I want to fill notes in. So I can have it fill where there's already a note, where there's no note, where there's already an effect, only where there's no effects, random, each step, or Euclidean. I'm going to go each step, and I can actually set the interval. I want 16th notes, so I'm going to go 1. Now I could set a scale here if I want, which I don't really need. I could also, or then I can also tell it to either keep the pitch here constant, to go from one to another, or to randomly choose between a range as well under random. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say from C4 to G4. Now I hit fill. Okay, that's too low. We can see it filled them all in. So I want to go up an octave. So they're still all selected. So the first one was D4. So I'm just looking for the first one to say D5. There we go, just like that. Now if we want, we can also do the same thing And actually, let's put our hi-hats on track 3. There we go. Cool. Don't know why I put them on track 1. Let's go to our hi-hats again, though, and let's set random volume for each step. So once again, I'm going to select the whole column, but now we're on effects. I'm going to click fill. And now, once again, we can tell it where. In this case, I want each step to have a random effect or a random volume. So I need to come down to effect type, select volume. Once again, go down to random. I'm going to go from 40 to 60. This is really going to depend on what sample you're using, what the rest of your track is doing volume-wise. It'll take some trial and error. Let's turn that down a bit. Sure. And this is going to sound bad. I'm just walking through the basics here. So I'm sure someone out there is going to be like, this sounds terrible. Yeah, it's not going to be great. I'm more just showing the functions. So I'm on track 1 now. I'm holding instrument, selecting my kick drum. Going to go with a super simple part. Actually, we'll delete that. And now I'm going to turn off step jump, because a lot of times I work without it when I'm inputting notes specifically. So there we go. And this just comes from working with the vertical, the spreadsheet style verticality, and just getting used to it, figuring out what step is where. But things are labeled, so if you're used to working in groups of 16, that'll still work for you just fine. Copy and paste is much easier than on the play, yes. And the fill function is awesome. Also works a little different than the play. So let's get our snare drum on here now. So we want beats 2 and 4. So I'm actually just going to set step jump, not length, step jump to 8, aka every 2 and 4 of each measure. There we go. Cool. Really simple, but that's okay. Now let's go to our bass line here, and I want that kind of sidechained effect, right? Now I could go into the mixer, and there actually is a way to do that. It's not the most versatile, though. So I find the easiest way to do that is just to put an effect on the volume for the bass. So we know the kick drum is, well, if we want that 4 on the floor effect, we can do that. So we'll just highlight all of the first column there for the effects, effect 1, hit fill. I'm going to come down here to each, but I don't actually want it on each. I'm going to go to step and set it to 4. So every 4 beats, I want it to drop a little bit in volume. So we're already at volume, because that's the last time we used fill. But this time I'm going to go for a constant rather than a from, to, or a random. So I'm going to set the volume to 25. You can see every 4 steps, the volume has been set to 25. Let's have a listen. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Cool. What do I want to show off next? Okay, let's say we want to bring in some some chords, like just a really nice basic like C minor chord. But let's say we're coming at this from the approach of wanting to make a song. So I am going to go ahead and show this song, the song mode hack, if you will, that Galactic Tape showed me. It's not even a hack, it's just how song mode functions. If we go into song mode, we can see on the top here, hopefully they show up on camera. Here's all 16 of our tracks, right? And here's pattern 1. We can see that only tracks 1, 2, and 3 and MIDI track 9 have data in them. Actually, let's go back really quick and name our tracks. So MIDI track 9 here. By the way, whenever you're not planning on working in the grid, turn off record mode. That's like my #1 tip for the tracker, for the Polyend trackers. Granted, you do have undo, but make sure that's green instead of red if you're not planning on like actually moving stuff around. So let's name MIDI track 9 here. We're going to call this bass. I just named the pattern instead. Whoops. That's fine. I'll name the MIDI track bass. There we go. It says bass. And then we'll come over here. We'll go kick. And here we'll go snare. The keyboard is also super fun to use. And then over here we'll go hat. There we go. And now I'll name the pattern. I named it bass on accident. I'll name it intro 1. There we go. So if I go into song mode now, now we can see our tracks are named up here. We have kick, snare, hat, and bass. You want to keep your track name short. And the pattern name is there too, intro 1. So what you can do is go record and then click add slot, and then it'll add a new pattern, and then then using the scroll wheel, or using these buttons here, then I could select pattern 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever if I had stuff in those. We're not going to do that. I'm going to click delete slot and show you a shortcut, if you will, or a more flexible way of doing it. So you can hold shift and then go add empty slot. Excuse me. Now from here, I can actually use the arrows and go in and copy and paste specific parts of the previous track or any other track that I want, including using shift to highlight multiple things. So we are going to keep things simple here. We're going to go copy all of that and paste it. Now it's in a new pattern. Pattern 2 is not pattern 1. So if I just did another instance of pattern 1, any changes I made to pattern 1 overall would show up anytime pattern 1 showed up on the sequencer. Or in song mode, sorry, rather. But now this is its own unique instance. So if I go pattern, and we go pattern here, now we're in pattern 2. So I can just name this, whoops, intro 2. There we go. Now we're in pattern 2, intro 2. Hey, thank you, Make Mistakes. We got a lively chat today, don't we? I just like to think that means I'm very captivating, right? But now, yeah, we can edit this as we see fit. So let's go down here to, we'll go MIDI tracks 10, 11, and 12, and we'll use one of the onboard synths to make a chord. So let's go with synth 3, and we'll go instrument parameters. And now we can see we're on virtual analog poly. I'm going to set polyphony to 3 and load in a patch. I like the Blade Runner patch a lot here. Yeah, you're all good, Wabbit. I'm just kidding. There we go. So now I'll just go in and I'll put, whoops, see, I forgot to reset my step jump, so it jumped me way down. But there's my C5. I'll put D sharp there. I'll put a G there. Let's make a super basic G or C minor triad. And I'm actually going to duplicate this pattern. So what that does is that doubles our pattern up to 64 steps long because it was at 32. And it also takes all the info and copies it. So we can find on step 33, here's our chord again. And I can very easily make this a B flat major. By the way, patterns can be up to 128 steps long on the Tracker Plus and Tracker Mini. And I believe you can have up to 255 patterns per project. So plenty of room. Plenty of room. Let's have a listen. Super basic, right? In fact, almost too basic. Let's bring the gain down. I'm gonna set. Oh shoot! I did not mean to do that. I accidentally went too far. I'm gonna set polyphony to 6 for this patch, and reload Blade Runner. There we go. That way, those notes can kind of ring out. Yeah, that's nice. We can drench it in reverb. Now there are faders here for your macros that you can set up to control. Super cool, but definitely more of an advanced feature in my opinion. There are no variations like on the play. No, the tracker is very much like a, well, it actually kind of, in my opinion, it kind of has to do with what Make Mistakes is talking about. It's where, you know, comparing it to kind of XL, it's very much like sheet music. Like it very much feels like that, where you read from left to right, just, you know, here's the beginning and you keep going and there's the end. Obviously, in this case, you go from up to down. But it's a lot more intentional, I think, than something like the play. There's a reason a lot of video game music was composed on these. I mean, power and CPU restrictions being one of them, but they really do lend themselves well to composition, I think. So there we've got that basic chord going on there. But let's go ahead and render this audio as samples so we're not wasting our synth synth tracks here. So let's go shift and we'll highlight these notes here, and I'm actually going to we'll just come all the way down to step 32. Yeah, that's fine. Right mode on. Render selection. Now we can name it. I can name this C. Whoops. There we go. C minor. Render and load. Oh, I already have a chord named C minor. Sure, well, I do this a lot, apparently. Yeah, I take the ideas that you come up with in the play and then make them more intentional on here, if that makes sense. Ooh, is this a bug? I can't preview the sound. I can't preview any of them. Let's see here. We're going to delete, and for our instrument, we will pick. Oh, we're on MIDI tracks. We need to be on a sample track here. There we go. Cool. So it did work. So I just put that in as a sample. Now we'll do the same thing with the B flat major chord here. Render selection. Wait for it. Oh, make mistakes. You got the Play Plus. Nice. I've been jamming with my Play Plus all day. Well, ever since I got the jam setup, all set up, which that's going to be a whole ordeal. Now let's go and delete those synths here, and we will hop over. Which track did we put those on? Put them over here on track 4. And this one, this B flat major chord goes on step 33. And we haven't actually looked at instrument parameters on the sample page yet, but it's a little different. So when you first hit instrument parameters, when you're loaded into a sample rather than a synth, you see volume, panning, tune, and fine tune, your different filter options, resonance. There's a second page where you access overdrive, bit depth, your reverb and delay sends, and your instrument MIDI mapping, which I'm not going to worry about today because I'm not doing any MIDI stuff. However, if you push instrument parameters again, then you get to the automation page, where you find automation for your volume, panning, filter cutoff, wavetable position if you're using a wavetable engine, as well as granular position if you're using the granular engine, and fine tune. Now, for the longest time, this is what Polyend Tracker users had for synths, like just a wavetable and a granular synth that weren't that deep. What you would do is you would sample your synths, of course, but now we've got onboard synths. So yeah, anyway, I want to go just to the reverb page here and send this thing to a lot of reverb. And if you want to adjust the parameters of your reverb, that can be found in the master page here. I'm going to go bigger. Usual stuff here: size, damping, pre-delay, diffusion. And yes, you can run external audio through the delay and reverb too. All of the conditional stuff XL could do years ago. That is true, yeah. Also, on the master page, you can hit the button again to find your mixer, hit it again to find the second page, which also has your delay, reverb, dry mix, line in levels, and the levels for the 3 synths. Tracks 9 through 16 don't get their own dedicated faders. Instead, it's just the synth tracks themselves, or the synths themselves. So kind of different, but I like it. It just makes it a little easier to keep tabs on things when stuff gets out of control, which will happen. This doesn't really prevent you from going nuts. Yeah, nice. Let's add in maybe a little ARP. So for that, actually, let's name this track here. Track 4, we will call chords. Oop. Oh, delete does work in this view. That's cool. Okay, there's our chords track. Now we'll pop over to MIDI track 10 here. Nope. Oh yeah, that's free. We freed that one up. And by the way, at any point, you can render any audio on here, synth or sample, into its own sample, which is super powerful, because then you could do, you could feed that through the granular engine, or just make it its own new sample for some fun glitchy stuff. Maybe that's how we'll end today. That could be cool. Anyway, before we grab an ARP, let's go to song mode here and shift, add empty slot. Once again, I'm going to copy this stuff here. Shift. Copy all the things from our previous pattern. and paste them in. Now, if I wanted to, I could drop out the chords here and just, you know, it would be its own unique pattern. Because it is its own unique pattern. Pattern name, we'll call this, I'll just call it intro 3. I don't know what we're introing at this point, but it's in keeping with where we are. And I messed up because it took me to pattern 2. Yeah, you do have to be careful coming out of song mode. It won't drop you into the pattern that you're in. It'll drop you to where you previously were. So I need to rename this as pattern 2. And then hop over to pattern 3 really quick here and rename this one. There we go. And this is all stuff that you'll get pretty quick. It's literally just because I'm a little out of practice. Like I said, I've been using the Mini a lot, and I only learned about this song mode trick a couple weeks ago. He said the thing. Make mistakes, said the thing. Okay, ARP time. Let's grab synth 2. Sure, why not? We'll go in. We'll use WTFM again. This one has some really cool sounds, I think. And it is a full FM engine. I believe it's 2 operator, so you can go in there and mess around with it all you want. And you can make your own presets, of course, and save them and all that. Patches, I guess those would be. You're not making presets. Yeah, that's fun. Kind of aggressive, but I don't mind it. Bring the gain down. And since we're not using synth 3 anymore, I'm going to bring the polyphony of that down to 0 to allow us some more polyphony in our other patches. You get 6 or 8 notes of polyphony total. How's it going, Frevrix? Sorry again about your showcase entry getting mislabeled. I feel so bad about that. Cool. We'll do that there. Send it to the delay. And yeah. Cool. Let's go back to pattern here. So now I'm going to use fill to fill in an ARP. So unfortunately, there's no scale settings like master on the Polyend trackers, which kind of makes a lot of the fill functions melodically, I don't want to say useless, but nowhere near as convenient as they could or should be. So we'll go from C5 to C6. And scale, I am going to put minor. I believe it just defaults everything to C, so we should be good here. Random from C5 to C6. And we'll go random on our note placement. And now, under density, I'll put it at 80%. And I want that up an octave. Now see, I just hit that key right there, and it made them all that note. So instead, I do want to use the jog wheel. Now we could go even further and use like a chance effect. There's also roll effects, random notes, random instrument. Yeah, you can do some crazy cool stuff in here. Slicing is neat. We probably won't get into that today. Random volume, random effects value, and all of that can be filled using the random section too. So you can get really cool, really all over the place, super creative with it. And you can even like randomize, I believe, like LFO position. Yeah, volume LFO, panning LFO, filter LFO, wavetable position LFO. That's what I meant. Yeah, yeah. There's some really cool stuff. So let's pretend that we were good with this. Okay, we're happy with where this is. I'm gonna bring the gain on that synth down just a smidge. And our pattern length actually went down to 32. It needs to be at 64. Now you'll notice we're missing these notes once we get to step 33, and that's because I only filled when it was at 32 steps long. So you do need to watch when you're making new patterns. You need to be careful of that. Luckily, whoops, I copied the wrong column. Yeah, a lot of this is just me getting used to working on this device again, but luckily I can just do that. There we go. Cool. So I like that. Let's go now to pattern, or to song, sorry. We're in pattern. Shift, add empty slot. Once again, we are going to copy everything here. Paste it in. Go to pattern 4. Set step length to 64 to match the others. And name it Intro 4. There we go. Let's now randomize the bit crusher. Magic just happened. I don't know about magic. It does sound nice, though. Let's randomize the bit crush value over here for our ARP track here. So I'm going to go select the whole column, effects, and bit depth, just showing that that's where it is. But we're not going to do it that way. We're actually going to go fill on the effects section. And now this is where we're going to go random. And we're going to go with, actually, we'll go each. We'll just go every single step. So each, on every step, we're going to go find bit depth, which is right there. Fill type, we're going to go random. And we're going to go from 16 all the way down to 4, the lowest. I hit fill. Now every step has its own unique bit depth there. Why isn't that sounding cool? Oh, because that's a synth. I thought, for some reason, I thought we did that as a sample. However, check out how fast we can do this here. It's going to export it as a sample. Import sample to project. There we go. Now we go pattern. We delete this here. We need to go down to, we'll just go to track 8 here. There we go. And we need to bring the volume of this way up. So this is all just a sample playing now. Just right here. Just triggered on that C5. So now what we can do, I believe, is fill in the bit depth. Yeah. So now the bit crusher is affecting it. And now we can actually go into effect column 2. And we can just straight up go into... Oh, no, chance won't work there because we're only triggering one. So there's like a zillion ways to do everything when you get into the effects. if I redid this, I would probably slice it and do it that way. This 4 here is very harsh. I'm going to dial that in. There we go. Cool. I'm also going to go into master and go into the delay and set ping pong on and set it to sync and set it right here to, I believe those are, that's every step, so it's a 16th note. Curious, what does this just sound like here on its own? Huh, it doesn't play it with the... Do I have to do this, I wonder? Yeah. Fun. Okay, now we're going to get super weird with it before we start to wrap things up here. You know, Frefrix, I've seen a bunch of people using that, and I don't get it at all. Like, I know it was, like, pretty revolutionary, right, from what I've heard when it came out, but I do not understand that thing, like, looking at it at all. What we are going to do is go to track 1, shift and up to highlight that column, then keep holding shift, and I'm going to select every single step that I have. I'm going to click render selection, render and load. This might take a minute because we are literally rendering the entire pattern into its own sample. There we go. Now we're going to go into, well, we don't even need to go new pattern for this, or to song mode. We can straight up just go to pattern 5, and I'm going to put this one sample in here, and this sample is our entire, all of our audio. Now, samples are always a little quiet. So that, I think, sounds pretty similar to the actual pattern. Yeah, cool. But now we're going to go into instrument parameters, and we are going to go to, we're really going to mess with this. We're going to go low pass filter. Turn up the resonance. A little bit of overdrive. And then we're going to go parameter page 2 here. We're going to go to the filter cutoff section. We're going to set an LFO to control the filter cutoff. We're going to go random. And we're going to set it to 1 step. How fun is that? And I think I want the cutoff a little higher. Yeah. That's so cool. Whoop, wrong button. We can also do this with like the volume. So we could set just a square wave here, set to 16th notes. And we can even go into the panning and set this to an LFO or envelope. We'll go LFO, and we can go with a triangle. And we'll set this to 32 steps. Remember, this is all just one sample. So like we could even go in and turn this into, we could go to the sample loader, copy this, paste it, which it takes a second because it's a big old guy. There we go. We can go into the a page I haven't even showed yet, which is the sample editor. or sample playback rather, we can straight up just turn this. Whoop. Now it's going backwards. You can see ping pong play. We could slice it up, or we could turn it into a wavetable synth. Or a granular synth. Now keep in mind, it's still taking the rest of our modulations and stuff, so you could turn those off and play with them, but it's crazy. And all of this is just one sample on one step of one pattern, so we still have all of this space to do more stuff. So let's end this with a drum fill. So I'm actually going to duplicate. This is only 32 steps long. I'm going to duplicate it to 128. I did it twice, 128 steps. And at the end of this here, we'll put it on track 5. We're going to load in some toms really quick here. So we'll go samples, synthwave one-shots, drums, toms, show me. Not those. Show me like a big old like Simmons. Yeah. And I'll shift load these in here. Okay. Pattern. We'll get there eventually. There we go. There we go. Cool. And now back in song mode, we'll add a slot here. We just want pattern 5 for this one. And we'll add one more slot, and we'll go pattern 4. Or no, we'll go pattern 3, pattern 3, pattern 3, pattern 3, and just let it go. And then, actually, we'll delete 2 of these, and we'll go add slot pattern 1. And then you can always just add, shift, add empty slot to add some, whatever is blank. Whatever's the next empty one at the bottom. It does have a learning curve, for sure. Make mistakes, what do you mean? Can it resample sections there? Here in song mode? It can resample anything that's in the grid. So anything that's in the grid, it can resample it. Anyway, let's go ahead and hit play on our song here and have a listen to our little work that we did. Probably could have mixed those toms better. There we go. So you can see, like, if I made a proper outro there, you know, you could have a little song, and it also tells you your time in minutes and seconds, which is cool. Make mistakes? No, you cannot sample directly, resample from that page. But what you would do is you would just edit your sample and then put it into the grid and then resample it right there. It seems like it would take a lot of extra time, but it really doesn't. But yeah, once you really get going on this thing, I mean, you can do some really cool stuff. We'll go ahead and save this. Why not? Save, and it has an auto namer. So enormous binge, cover humor, name haul, unusual cause, coat studio, expensive water. That sounds good. Call it expensive water. Yeah, there you go, Wabbit. Hope you enjoyed. Just a brief walkthrough, I guess, of the basics, and then a little bit, getting a little more advanced towards the end. And don't forget, this also has a radio, too, which is super cool. And sample recorder. You can sample right into it. I guess, yeah, make mistakes. Technically not resampling, but you can sample directly into this, too. Or sample from the radio, which is cool. Yeah, and then, of course, there's performance mode and sample editor, where you edit stuff before you even, like, commit it. Like, these are destructive options, which I didn't have a sample loaded, so it didn't do anything, but yeah, there's there's a lot here. But yeah, my big tips are to remember that you can basically always hold instrument to switch and use the wheel or the pads to switch between the sound or sample you're on. Always make sure what pattern you're on if you're messing around in sound mode. And when you're just hanging out here in pattern view, the grid, unless you're actively entering notes, make sure you have write mode toggled off. Make sure that little box there is green. I'd say those are my major tips. And of course, don't forget about things like shift and insert to go to the top, and shift arrows to select stuff. But that's all basic, like Windows computer spreadsheet stuff anyway. I do believe this thing can play Mario Bros. I tried to put a ROM on there and I couldn't figure it out, but I'm also a dummy. Where is the game section? It's under file. Yeah, I tried a couple of ROMs here, but I just get a blank screen. But it can play like Lawnmower. What is start? Oh, play. There you go. But yeah, there is a NES emulator in there apparently. Yeah, cool. All right, everybody. Well, I think that's going to do it for today. I need to go make some teriyaki chicken. That sounds good. And wash a boatload of cabbage. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Just a little walkthrough of the tracker here. Yeah. Hope the new stream setup worked for you all. It definitely worked for me. I'm liking this quite a bit. You'll see more of what I've been doing in the studio in the nearish future. I don't know what we'll be streaming with next week, but it should be fun. Anyway, I will see you all in Friday's video. So thanks for hanging out. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.